50 other laptops. They don't say, we'll get you. If it isn't this week, or next week, or 3 weeks, they don't care. Machines have no ambition, and Hollywood tells you the machine's going to take over. No machine ever says, gee, I'd like to run the lives of people. Machines don't have a gut reaction. They don't get hungry. They don't feel resentment. If you put one computer and paint it, the other doesn't say, why don't you paint me? You know, they don't get mad. Hollywood makes movies on the future where people use laser beams and they burn each other. This isn't the future. This is Hollywood hacks. Now, the book 1984, Brave New World, Atlas Shrugged, that's what you got now. Okay? Now look, let me open this area here to some questions, which I'm sure you all don't agree. So don't be polite. The things you don't understand, if you feel you disagree, please raise your hand. Yes. And speak up because I can't hear you.
Okay. In watching the movie and in hearing your lecture, your description of the future, it sounds amazing. The thing that I don't understand is the transition from where we are now to get there, because it seems like especially when you speak about World War II and like all the money that we spent on the war could have built hospitals in the slums, but like if you look at the Nazis not being taken out in World War II, then what would Europe look like?
Is essentially your question, how do we get from here to there?
Right, yeah.
Is that essentially it? Okay.
Yes.
First of all, we have to have a crash. That's what makes people think. If they lose their jobs, lose their homes, other than that, they don't give a damn. As long as you're eating, paying your rent, it's okay. So the system is crashing all over the world. The monetary system is going downhill. And it takes those conditions. If you don't understand that, it was the last depression. I have to tell you this. When I was a kid, a lot of people made down payments on automobiles, homes, campers, and the banks failed. I think some of you may know this. How many of you know that? But the banks failed. They couldn't pay off their homes. And the bank said, you got 3 weeks or you're out unless you make a payment. Well, they couldn't. So they were kicked out. And 15 million Americans, when I was a kid, were sleeping in every empty lot. And that looked wrong to me, because a lot of you guys never saw that. I'm 93, so you'll know that what I'm talking about is in my time, maybe not your time. And I saw all these people sleeping in empty lots. Then something new happened. About 10 to 15 to 30,000 veterans marched on Washington, veterans of World War I. They were promised $600 when you get out of the Army to start life anew. But the government was not in a position then to give them that money, so I gave them IOUs. And the veterans said, I can't pay my rent with IOU. I can't buy food for my kids. And they came with crutches and wheelchairs and were sleeping all around the Capitol in Washington. And that looked very bad. So they said, Douglas MacArthur, who was a captain, get them out of here. It doesn't look good. So he asked them to leave, and they didn't leave. They said, no, we're not leaving until we get our pension you promised us. So Douglas MacArthur ordered the troops to throw tear gas at the veterans. You could look it up in any, particularly the New American History. It isn't in our school books. A lot of stuff is taken out of books, and that is a lie to do things like that. The book 100 Million Guinea Pigs is a lie. I mean, if you don't make it available to people, books that are taken out of the library because they don't feel you ought to know that or it would hurt the country, I don't like that at all. Yes? All right, we get back now to the transition. The transition is the breakdown first. During the breakdown, during the Depression, there were people up on soapboxes all over America, every empty lot. One group was Mankind United. Another group was called, this group was the Church of God. And there was back to family values. Socialism, communism, Nazism, all kinds of ideas during the Depression. That's what generated it. So I was standing in front of a socialist, and I said, when you get into power, how are you going to house the masses? Well, he said, well, we'll work that out at that time. I said, well, do you have any blueprints now for it? He said, no. Then I went over to another guy who was talking about communism. He said, go away, Sunday boy. There's a lot of older people there. And I said, no, I want to hear what communism is from a communist. He says, why? Because I don't believe what the Democrats say about the Republicans or what the Republicans say about the communists. I want to hear what the communists have to say, so she can say. So when he got through, I said, I want to ask you 1,000 questions. He said to me, you'll have to go to the YCL. I said, what's that? Young Communist League. I said, what are they? Well, here's an address, and I went there. And there were little girls, 10 years old, and boys up to about 17, and they were reading books like Crime and Punishment. Little kids reading deep books. And I said, gee, these kids are very different than ordinary kids. So after the meeting, I raised my hand, I said, how are you going to house the masses? And they said, well, when that time comes, we'll work on it. I said, how are you going to prevent corruption in government? They said, well, we'll work on that when that time comes. I said, let's start a technical branch of the Communist Party, ways of preventing corruption and housing people. They said, you're a deviationist. I said, what does that mean? You're deviating from the teachings of Karl Marx. I said, I'm trying to help. I would help anybody, by the way. I don't care what country it is. And they said, you're deviating from the teachings of Marx. And they said, you'll have to leave. So the vice president of the Young Communist League got up and said, let's hear him out. And they kicked us both out. That was my experience with the Communist Party. I really did want to help any country. I would help any country. I don't care what the philosophy is. It's not working. So I was interested. And the transition, there'll be a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, because the old ideas are going to clash with the new ones. And if enough people understand the Venus Project, look it up on your website, thevenusproject.com. Look it up. There's all kinds of questions that thousands of people ask, and we answer all those questions. And it's not an elitist, it's not technology and charge people. It's a method of social operation that brings out the best in all human beings, whatever that may be. Yes, sir. You have a question right there? Yes.
It sounds like your
Let me
It sounds like your plan really is a communist approach, in that you want a central form of government, or central form of governance with technology, by computers, correct? Now, I have a fear of the central government in that regard without any kind of checks and balances. I mean, there has to be somebody to maintain the machine that does the governance. And then if that's so, then those people that do the maintaining have influence over the machine and therefore can affect it according to their personal interests. Then the machine itself, if you do have artificial intelligence that develops to the levels that you're claiming that they can, and their potential, what's to prevent a machine from going to the level of, say, a cybernet, like in the Terminator movies?
Takeover?
I know that
machine takeover?
Yeah, and before you answer that, I'd like to mention, yes, a machine is not motivated by chemical impulses like a human being, which gives you an idea that it's going to have a straightforward empirical approach. And that's a nice idea, but we do hold as humans values that a machine could not appreciate, such as the idea of keeping mentally disabled people alive. You know, if you think about in terms of eugenics and such, there are scientific approaches to communities that we don't agree with on a personal level, because we don't think that everyone should die simply because they're not as useful to the community as the greatest contributors. We don't live
discrimination based on health, discrimination based on mental ability.
Correct. I mean,
Okay.
in the jungle.
I'll try to answer that.
Okay.